It's the Dep Lewis Show. The Dep Lewis Show. It's the Dep Lewis Show. It's the Dep Lewis Show. The Dep Lewis Show. It's the Dep Lewis Show. It's the Dep Lewis Show. The Dep Lewis Show. It's the Dep Lewis Show. Welcome to the Dep Lewis Show, episode 136. This is your host, Dep Lewis, and today is July 6th, 2025, and a great day for a podcast about video games and more, and that's what I'm here to do. So welcome to the show. I hope you're doing great out there in the world, wherever and whenever you're listening to this. Thank you so much for being here. The first order of business, however, is to ask for your help. So please follow Dep Lewis Show everywhere. Full episodes of Dep Lewis Show available anywhere you can find a podcast. So find the best place to subscribe and listen weekly. Places like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, YouTube, Amazon Music, and more. YouTube is also a great place to watch me play some games live or check out the videos later. I've done a couple streams in the last couple of days, so please go check those out if you want to see some gameplay. If you'd like to support the show even further than just listening, patreon.com/DepLewisShow is available if you'd like to subscribe monthly. Also, Venmo at Dep Lewis Show is available any day, anytime, for any amount if you would like to support the show. So today's show will have three sections. As always, the first section I'll tell you about what video games I've been playing since I've last talked to you on this microphone. The mid section, which is not mid in quality, it's the middle of the show, and it's all the video game information and news that you need to know. So a recap of everything that's happened that I find important in the video game world over the last week, and that's in the mid section. And third and final section is a break from video games, the Miscellaneous talk section, where I usually get into the worldwide world of sports and tell you what is going on with all my favorite teams, and that is the plan today as well. So just welcome to the show. Welcome to another Sunday. I'm an Atlanta Braves fan, if you ever listen to the show, in the final section, and they actually play in an hour today. So in real time, that's 11:30 a.m. Or I believe maybe it starts at 11. Maybe it's 11:30, but an early start either way. It's on Roku, which is surprising. They like to throw a few of the games over the course of the year on some different platforms, kind of like the NBA does, and I guess the NFL does it now too. All the major sports are doing that, but hey, you know, we're going to talk about sports in the final section. This is a video game show. So I mentioned I've done a few streams in the last couple of days. If you want to go check out youtube.com/Dep Lewis Show, you can go watch those. You can see me reacting to playing poorly in some platforming. You can go on there and watch me play some games, and please, you know, come through for a live at some point. It would be nice. Come through and chat, come say hey, and just thank you so much for interacting with any of my content. But this one today is the Dep Lewis Show, episode 136. So let's talk about what video games I've been playing. So I mentioned streaming, but what exactly have I been playing? So the first thing I want to talk about is a game from the Xbox 360. So I was gifted a 360 console recently by a friend of the show and friend of real life, Stoop Woot. And this has inspired me to do a ranking of Xbox 360 games. So it's called the Depbox 360 Official Ranking. Maybe the Depbox 360 ranking. Still going to decide when I put out the first episode, but the first game under consideration for the Depbox 360 ranking is Forza Motorsport 3. So I thought I was going to start with Mass Effect, but I ended up playing a lot of this game, and I want to keep playing it. So this is going to be the first game that I talk about and rank for the Depbox 360 rankings. Excuse me. So I've been getting some achievements in this game, which is nice. I actually got one right before this podcast. I lost a race, or I came in second. So if you're Ricky Bobby, you know how that goes. But I got some experience and was able to upgrade. I think driver level 15 is where I'm at. So there is a event list in this game that's very helpful for just going down the list, trying to complete the races. And I gotta say, maybe I am a seventh of the way through, an eighth of the way through, something like that. There's a whole lot of races in this, all different classes of cars, all different specifications, and sometimes you have to earn a little bit of money before you can go and do one of the events, because you're unable to pay to upgrade your car. And if you're unable to pay to upgrade your car, apparently you won't be competitive in the race. So it does a pretty good job of laying those kind of things out. I don't really go to these games. I like the simulation style racing to them, but I don't like doing any of the tinkering with the cars. So I do a lot of auto upgrading in here and things like that. But I find it just as much fun to play. I think the star of the show here for Forza Motorsport 3 is the actual racing, following the racing line, trying to hit your brakes, trying to get those corners, and letting sometimes you got to feed a little speed to your ride, if you know what I'm saying. So this game is extremely fun. I really am a huge fan of the Forza franchise in general, so going back has been a fun thing to do, and I'm still having as much fun with these games as I do with the current gen ones. So I think that speaks a lot to the developers here and the quality of these games, and it's been fun to go back and do some racing. So what else? Excuse me one second. So what else do I want to say about this game, Forza Motorsport 3? I've been having a whole lot of fun with it. I really like the event list and being able to go through that. And I gotta say, so one of my things about one thing I want to say about the 360, since I'm kind of new to playing this old console, it doesn't look the best. It looks a little bit washed out if you're playing it on like a good TV. So I have a 4K TV. It's nothing special of a 4K TV, but it is one. And I find the 360 games don't look, it doesn't enhance the visuals. It actually makes them look a little bit worse on there. It's not terrible. It still controls good. It still looks acceptable, but it does make it look a tad worse. So I have a small screen here. I think it's a 19-inch or 20. Yeah, I guess it's a 19-inch screen right here on the side of my desk. And that's the one I've been using to stream and do some gaming on. And that one actually, it does look a little bit better on that. So just a thing to bring up if you are planning on picking up a 360. You might want to consider what TV you're playing on a bit. I don't think you have to ultimately consider it. I think if you have an HDMI, you can plug it in. It's going to look acceptable and be good. But I think if you're choosing between, like if you have two TVs in your house, one of them's your ultra modern TV and you have an old one, an older HDMI TV, maybe go plug it up to that one. Would just be my small recommendation on the Xbox 360. So the plan here is just to keep playing this game. Excuse me. I think the whole plan for the Depbox 360 rankings is to play the game until I feel like I'm done playing it, and then I will make a video playing some of the game and rank the game at the end of the video or during the video, and keep building a continuous list over time of Xbox 360 video games. So I have a couple games. I have Mass Effect. I have Forza Motorsport 3. I have a couple downloadable games, so I have a little bit of a collection going, but this is going to be something where I can pick up a game from time to time or get a recommendation and play the game and see what I think about it and put it on the official Depbox 360 rankings. I was wondering if it's rankings or rankings. Does anybody ever think about that? I think it's rankings sounds better, but I think maybe it's rankings. So I got to think about these things, these semantics, before I officially do the first video. But I've been having a lot of fun with this. There's a lot of good potential here. I've been having a lot of fun gaming on the 360. I think the controller still feels great. And I do think it looks great. I was telling you that stuff about the TV just to be a little bit nitpicky because I'm into video games, but I think if you just want to pick one of these up and play it, I think that's going to be perfectly acceptable. And the purpose of this rankings is going to be to show off the games that are still fun. And if you want to buy a $100 console and you can buy $5 games on it, and I think you can still have a great time with it. So that's a little bit of what the point of this new foray I'm going into with the Xbox 360. So I've been having a whole lot of fun with Forza Motorsport 3. I still have a lot to play. I'm probably about halfway through of what I want to do with the game. I don't know if I'll complete the event list completely, but you never know. I've been having fun going through it. Nothing's really been holding me back too far. I've been at a couple impasses where I don't have enough money to upgrade, so I've had to go and do some other races, but that's pretty typical, and I'm having fun with it. So I enjoy the Forza Motorsport side of the house on Forza. I really like the Horizon games as well, but I do enjoy the simplicity of getting in the races in this version of the game. So that's something I enjoy. I enjoy the racetracks. I think it's extremely fun to race on those. I kind of like the consistency of them, but I do like the Horizon. I would say I like the two franchises as much. I think a lot of people out there in the world like to say they like Horizon better or a lot better, but I think for me, I think they're on par, and I hold them both in extremely high regard, and I've been having fun with it. Forza Motorsport 3. Okay, so what else have I been playing? I mentioned that I've been streaming on youtube.com/Dep Lewis Show, so please go check those out. The few games I've been streaming the last couple of days have been Super Mario Odyssey, Astro, Donkey Kong Country Returns HD, and Mario Kart World. So I got into some platformers this week. Super Mario Odyssey is $40 on the Nintendo Digital Store right now, so if you've been looking to pick that game up, it's a great time to do so. I had a physical copy of Super Mario Odyssey at some point when I first bought it, and I completed this game. I saw credits. I never completed it in 100% fashion, so I think that is a little bit of the plan here for the return to Super Mario Odyssey, and that's a little bit of the same plan I'm going to have for Astrobot 2. So some stream content, some content for myself just to enjoy the game and dive a little bit deeper and have some fun. So I have a little bit of plans here. This has been the year of no direction for me on the show, but I have a couple plans coming into focus. The main one is still completing Breath of the Wild, and then I'm getting some platformer plans in here on the back of Donkey Kong Bonanza that comes out on July 17th. So hopefully that can be a game 100%. I definitely want to see credits on it, and then I need to probably use a guide to complete some of these games. And I guess the Donkey Kong Bonanza guide will be created pretty quickly, but I am planning on playing Super Mario Odyssey all the way through again. It has a Nintendo Switch 2 update, not an official Nintendo Switch 2 version, but this game looks extremely, extremely nice. So this is a great looking game on Switch 1, and Switch 2 just makes it look a little bit better, and I think that is a nice upgrade. So another good perk if you are looking for something to play on your Switch 2, I think this one has a legit update that optimizes the game to run even better on the Switch 2. I don't think all games are doing that currently from Switch 1 to Switch 2, so it's something to note, but this one is 100%. You can feel comfortable playing this on the Switch 2. Now, the music in this game is top tier. The controls are so fun. Playing this game with the Switch 2 Pro controller, I don't know when I'm going to stop saying that about these games, but playing this game with the Switch 2 Pro controller is just an added benefit. The controller is extremely elite, and playing an extremely elite platformer with updated visuals with an elite controller is a elite Nintendo experience. So I just want to say I'm really, really enjoying that controller, and it's enhancing a lot of these games. It's enhancing a lot of the old games, even some of the Nintendo classics on the Nintendo Switch Online stuff. Playing those games with a Pro controller just feels amazing. Even playing the new Mario Strikers that's on Nintendo Switch Online, it just gives a little bit of a boost to the game. I don't think it's game changing, but I think it's just enough of an upgrade on the controller. It feels extremely premium, and I cannot recommend the Pro 2 controller enough. So Super Mario Odyssey, getting back into that. I think I'm 3 or 4 worlds into there. Maybe I'm gonna dip back to the beginning and try to complete some of those worlds before moving on, but we'll see. I think I'm gonna kind of do the same thing with Astrobot. So Astrobot won Game of the Year for the Dep Lewis Show in 2024. This is a game that I rolled credits on, but I didn't complete in 100% fashion. So I think I want to do so. I think I want to go try to collect all the bots, and I've started a brand new file trying to do so. So I can stream some of it and replay some of it and enjoy the game again. So I think the first time I got through, I was around 201, something like that, out of the 301 or whatever it is, bots. And I am already about 30 or 40 into this second playthrough. So I'm immediately remembering why I chose this for Game of the Year for last year. It's extremely fun. There's lots of Mario Odyssey touches in this, I would say, or nods or homages or similarities. So after playing Super Mario Odyssey, playing some of this, you're like, hey, this is something that would be, I feel like, is a little bit inspired by Super Mario Odyssey. So, and I mean that in the best way possible. These games are top tier video games in my opinion. So Astrobot, one thing I do like about Astrobot is I like the controls are simple. So there's no version of Cappy, there's no version of the Flood. It's just a platformer. There are upgrades you can get throughout the game, but nothing permanent. So the controls are very basic. I find that fun. I think it is a little bit tough in Astrobot that you can only take one hit. So that is a little bit of a difference from a Mario game where you can build up your health. But I think it's a fun element. I think the controls being a little bit more simple and then having the health be more simple is a good combination. And I think these games are similar in a lot of ways, but they have their little differences that make them both worth playing for sure, is what I would say. The rumble in Astrobot feels great. Hitting the small items on the screen, like the sprinkles and things like that around, feels great. And finding the PlayStation characters in the world, I forget how much I enjoyed that. So it's been a great time revisiting Astrobot. I found Ratchet, I found Rivet early, I found Spyro, so getting some of my favorite characters out of the way early has been fun. So I am excited to see all the bots again in that game and all the levels and stream some of it as well. So back into some Astrobot. And then also I've been playing some Donkey Kong Country Returns HD. This game released earlier in the year for Nintendo Switch. This game originally released on the Wii. There was a 3DS version, and I actually picked up the 3DS version earlier in the year. So that is, I was having the wires crossed in my brain while I was streaming. I'm like, I think I've played this level. I've played some of this game, but not made it very far. And I was remembering back to when I played on the 3DS, because I haven't made that much progress on the Switch version, but now I have. So I think I'm in new territory on Donkey Kong Country Returns HD. This is a game I plan to roll credits on. I don't know if I want to commit to completing it 100% because this game has been difficult. So I think Donkey Kong Country Returns HD and Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze are some extremely good platformers, but they have the difficulty up there a little bit more than your typical game. So something to note there. But this game's fun. It's getting me ready for Donkey Kong Bonanza. I really like Diddy Kong. It's always nice to have him in this game, and I think he's an extremely cool character. And I want to see the credits here. That's the plan here for Donkey Kong Country Returns HD. So I've been having a lot of fun with that, and I think also if you want to play this on 3DS, if you've been playing on the 3DS, you can pick this game up for like $14 for a loose copy. And I'm having flashbacks between the games, and I'm not really seeing too much of a difference. So I think if you want to, get a cheaper copy, I think that's a great way to do so, and you will not be missing out on any content. But this game looks great on the TV. It looks great, or it feels great with a Pro 2 controller. But I've actually been playing this on the Switch 1 still. But I did try it out on the Switch 2. I'm still playing it on the Switch 1 just because I've been using that as like a handheld machine / sidekick to the Switch 2. So I've been playing some Donkey Kong Country Returns HD, and if you want to go watch a stream of that, go check out my YouTube. All right, another game that has been the game of the year so far for Dep Lewis Show, Mario Kart World. I did a stream of that last night, 11 p.m. at night. I was streaming late, having some fun, trying to get some top 10 finishes, and I got a few in there. I think that the best I got was a 5th place finish, maybe a 4th. And I was having a lot of fun. I was doing some racing with Pauline. She's been kind of my main character lately in the last couple of days. I'm still doing some Daisy and some Waluigi as well. I've been mainly into the online racing in Mario Kart World since I've completed all the Grand Prix stuff. So anytime I'm booting this game up right now, I've been going to the online races or going into the free roam a little bit. I was complaining a little bit on my stream last night with the map selection early on in the races, but I think it ended up getting more varied and seeing some of the, I don't know, it might have just been a bad groove. I feel like 3 races in a row we were seeing the same 3 maps in contention for getting chosen. So I was taking note of that, but I think there might have just been a little bit of bad luck or whatever, or people might have been choosing them, just been feeling them last night. But I ended up getting into a lot of matches on the courses I like and having a lot of fun with this. So I've been playing a lot of Mario Kart recently, Mario Kart World. I've been diving back into Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, trying to complete some Grand Prix stuff over there, and realizing that I'm a huge Mario Kart fan, maybe even more than I have realized. And I think this is an excellent one, and I think it's worthy of Game of the Year for the Dep Lewis Show right now. I don't think it's going to hold the title, but I think it's going to be, I was about to say top 3. I think it's going to stay up pretty high in my rankings for the end of the year, but you got to keep listening to the show each week. And at the end of the year, we always have a Dep Lewis Show awards. So give out some awards for Game of the Year and a few other categories, and one of the most fun podcasts I do each year. So Mario Kart World, hopefully you will be staying in that conversation, and I think you will. So that is another game I've been playing. And then what else have I been playing this week I want to tell you about? I've been playing a lot of games. I've been trying some things out. I've been making some progress in things. I think platformers are pretty good for playing multiple games and jumping between them. So I think that is going to be nice for myself, as I like to jump between games, but this will help me actually make some progress in them. A game I picked up, this game came out this year, actually. It's a remastered collection, but I don't have any history with this game, and I picked it up maybe a month ago, the Lunar Remastered Collection. I have this on the Switch, and I've actually started playing this a little bit. So I've been playing Lunar, the Silver Star Story Complete. This game originally released in Japan simply as Lunar Silver Star Story. It's a remake of the 1992's Lunar the Silver Star on Sega CD. So that was the first release of this. And then the game got remade, or like a director's cut, I guess, for the Sega Saturn originally. Then it came to PlayStation. I think PlayStation is the one where it really blew up in the United States. So early on in this game, you meet the characters Alex, Null, which is the cat with the wings. I really like him. And then Luna is the star of the show for me so far. She's an extremely cool character. I really like her in battle as well. And then Ramus, he's kind of like the sidekick character. If you play Sea of Stars, he's like the third guy that kind of shows up there. So I think that's a common trope in RPGs, but he is a welcome addition to the party. This game has a lot of whimsy to it. It has a lot of charm to it. The music is very nice. The visuals are, I like the style of it. It looks really cool, and I'm having a whole lot of fun with this franchise. I think it's kind of this is an older game, so it's a more simple RPG. And this might be right up my alley for someone who's like kind of dipped my toes into traditional RPGs, but never, I've completed Final Fantasy VII Remake, but not too much other games, not too many other games to report completing as far as RPGs go in this traditional sense. I've played like Red Dead 2, if you call that an RPG, or Fallout. I guess Fallout 3, people would call that an RPG, but I don't know if I count that one as like a traditional one in my mind or whatever. But this one's been fun, and this one's been fun. I've been playing this in handheld, and I've been playing it in handheld with the Joy-Cons detached some too. So even like laying down on the couch or whatever, having the
the console with the stand propped up and have the two Joy-Cons detached has been really fun. I don't think you can play with just one Joy-Con, but playing with the two has been it's extremely comfortable for this game. It works pretty well in an RPG because you're not doing too much action at one time. And I've even been doing the auto battling in this game, so it's kind of just like making some decisions outside of battle, walking through the open world, talking to people, and making a few decisions here and there. So it's a pretty relaxing event. I've been playing this game a little bit late at night and kind of early in the morning if I want to play a video game, and it's been extremely fun, and I'm enjoying it. So the Lunar Remastered Collection has been fun. This is a franchise I've been sleeping on. I really didn't know too much about it until this Remastered Collection got released and a lot more people started talking about it, and I've been having fun with it. So the original developer was Game Arts, so I don't know who completely is doing the ports or anything, but I did write that down because I like to know who made these games. And that was all I wanted to say about that. I've been playing some Lunar. I don't know how much. I don't have any grand plans to complete it. I'm just kind of playing it in a relaxing fashion and having some fun with it. So I've been trying some things out kind of between my Switch 1 and Switch 2. So one thing I did try out between the Switch 1 and Switch 2, which I was kind of in a hopeful fashion, because I don't think this game looks too great on Switch 1. I think this is kind of a first world complaint. I think it's perfectly fine if you wanted to play this game on here, or if I did as well, but the game in question is Persona 5 Royal. I don't think this game runs great on Switch 2. I don't think it's been improved in any fashion. I think it actually kind of looks worse in handheld mode. So I just think this is a case of not being optimized for the new hardware. So I was reading, I think a lot of people mention HDR fog, and maybe this is something that I am noticing with these games, and something I'm noticing more and more, and noticing as I've been getting into some retro games too, but now seeing it a little bit on the modern hardware as well. So it's just an interesting thing between these games and how they're balanced and what platform they're running on. They can't just automatically jump between them as you would think, or they don't automatically just get bumped all the time as you would think to look better. So there is some work here, some optimization that needs to be done by the devs, and I hope they will do that for Persona 5 Royal, and I hope they're going to put Persona 3 Reload and Persona 4 Revival on here would be my ultimate hope, because I've been playing Persona 3 Reload on PlayStation 5 and loving that game, and would love to be able to play it in handheld. So that was kind of my thought here of diving back into Persona 5 Royal. But I think the move here would be for me just to wait on it, for it to be better optimized, or get an official Switch 2 version, or for Persona 3 Reload to actually come to Switch 2. So that one I think I'm just going to hold off on. I did some investigating on it for what I think, and I just want to report I don't think the Switch 2 is doing that game any justice, and I would say proceed with a little bit of caution there if you are concerned with the game looking as good as you as good as you want it to, or whatever. So I feel a little nitpicky with that, but just something I noticed. I play a lot of games. I have a few different consoles, which I'm lucky to have, and able to notice some differences between the few. But I think ultimately it's not like a ultimate stay away or anything like that. But Persona 5 Royal, just wanted to point that out. All right, so this has been the year of no direction on the Dep Lewis Show. I like to sometimes have a theme for the year. I've had the year of survival horror. I've had the year of RPGs, and this first half of the year has been the year of no direction. And I think it's resulted in me having no direction. So maybe for the second half of the year, it's going to be like the second half year of the platformer, half year of the racing game. But the one thing that is consistent I want to do is complete The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. I made a lot of progress on my last stream of that, so I think I've been a little bit of a timeout or a break. All I really need to do is complete the last Divine Beast, and then I can go try to take down Ganon. Mine is trying to build Link up a little bit before doing so, but I got the Master Sword. I got the 3 beasts taken down. I'm right at the beginning of the 4th beast, so I'm in a pretty good position over there in Breath of the Wild. And then the next big release on the calendar for me, which is, I guess, my most anticipated game for sure, is Donkey Kong Bonanza. That comes out on July 17th. I am beyond excited for that. That's going to be the number one video game in my arsenal when it comes out, and I'm hoping it's going to be a top game of the year contender for the Dep Lewis Show for 2025. So that is my expectations. You can say they are through the roof, and I believe the game can exceed them still. So I have a lot of high expectations and hope for Donkey Kong Bonanza, and I am extremely excited to play it on July 17th. So that's everything I've been playing. I've been playing a lot of stuff this week. Had some days off for the 4th of July holiday in the United States, so I was able to do some streaming. I think that's been a little bit of a trend on days off. I've been, trying to do a stream or two, and it's been a fun way to spend my time. So please check me out on youtube.com/Dep Lewis Show. You can listen to all my podcasts on there, and then you can watch all my live streams live or after the fact. So I think YouTube is a great place to follow. I'm a huge fan of watching YouTube, and I know a lot of people in the world are too. So hopefully this will help some people be attracted to my channel and my content and come check me out. So I've been playing some Forza Motorsport 3, I've been playing Super Mario Odyssey, Astro, Donkey Kong Country Returns HD, Mario Kart World, and some of the Lunar Remastered collection. So that's everything I have for you this week as far as what I've been playing. We're going to take the first break of the show. We're going to come back for the midsection where I tell you what is going on around the video game world that you need to know. So you don't want to miss it. Listen to this music and come right back. Welcome back to the midsection of Dep Lewis Show, episode 136. This is where I tell you about what is going on around the video game world that you need to know. And this first one I'm going to start off with has been something that's been was rumored heavily last week and has come to fruition this week. And, T's and P's to all these people affected by this. There has been mass layoffs at Microsoft and Xbox. And all these details, we have a statement from the head of Xbox, Phil Spencer. So we have that. That's something official, but a lot of these things have been just some reports that have come out, people from the studios talking, so I don't know how much official all these numbers are or some of these things, but there are a few definite things in here I'm going to tell you, but just kind of take some of the stuff with a grain of salt and try to find as much information as I could or summarize it as best as I could with what was easily accessible out there. So Microsoft and Xbox are having some layoffs. Significant layoffs to the gaming division per a memo sent to staff by Xbox boss Phil Spencer. So I want to read his comment here. I love a good corporate comment. They're always very similar. They always just mention that, hey, we're trying to change this up for a strategic reason. This is a difficult decision, but I think this is going to align us better for the future. It's always just some boilerplate statement like that. So I don't know why the corporate playbook has these specific items in it each time. You think they would want to change it up a little bit, but once again, we're going to hear a typical corporate statement from Phil Spencer. So today we are sharing decisions that will impact colleagues across our organization to position gaming for enduring success and allow us to focus on strategic growth areas. We will end or decrease work in certain areas of the business and follow Microsoft's lead in removing layers of management to increase agility and effectiveness. Out of respect for those impacted today, the specifics of today's notifications and any organizational shifts will be shared by your team leaders in the coming days. So just once again, thoughts and prayers to anyone who has lost their job and the uncertainty that comes with that. I think these layoffs are pretty typical, and I guess they're pretty typical across the video gaming space, and I think kind of typical across the corporate world in general. So just something that I don't know if it's getting highlighted more, if it's happening more, if there is a surge of it going on right now, or it's just a commonplace thing in the corporate world, which is unfortunate, but it's something to notice. It's something I've been noticing over the couple of years of doing this podcast, and there's been countless times I've come on this podcast to talk about people getting laid off in the video game world, and just T's and P's to all those people is the main thing. So the corporate statement, we talked about that. So some of the items from this layoff, so they're kind of talking, there's been a number of like 9,000 people are potentially getting laid off, which is 4% of Microsoft staff. There's another thing that's been posted out there. They are a company of around 250,000 people, so that kind of adds up. Another number I've seen has been 15,000 plus employees. And so maybe this is going to be a process. This is the first round of them. Maybe another round is coming. And then there's been some talk about how they're freeing up to heavily invest in AI. So that's kind of the big, what's the thing? The big like fear-inducing thing out there in the world. And I think Microsoft is, I think they are. Well, I think it's known that they're heavily invested in AI. So it's not hard to comprehend that they would be trying to rely on some AI in their workplace. And I think a lot of companies are doing this. This is a new technology being introduced to the world in a very quick fashion. So I think there is a lot going on with it. But they're saying that they are investing heavily in AI infrastructure and products at the cost of everything else is proving popular amongst shareholders. That was a quote from somebody. I think that was something from the Seattle Times was kind of reporting on this. So not what you want to hear going out the door for sure. And I don't think it's what you want to hear either as a fan or a consumer of products from Microsoft. Like, I think AI obviously can be used for good and is a tool. It's just a little bit strange how, it's a little bit strange how focused people are, would be kind of my take on it, and focused on like trying to sell it to us as a great thing. I think it's kind of just like, hey, if you're going to use this, just use it. And, I would want you to hopefully use it. Hopefully you would use it to make a great video game that I want to spend money on. And this seems a little bit more nefarious almost. Something just doesn't seem right about it. And that's just my opinion on this. But I can understand what they're doing here. They're trying to quit paying actual people, and leverage their AI to make up the difference. And I don't think it's going to result in anything good for the Microsoft gaming division. I think it's probably going to result in okay things for Microsoft. I think their stock price is up 20% on the year. They are an extremely profitable company, so this is no woe is me for Microsoft in general. I think this is definitely the video game business side of the house taking a hit, and the video game business as a whole taking a little bit of a hit with these companies recalibrating, and they're recalibrating in a larger fashion than normal. I guess that's based upon the pandemic, COVID that took place, of all the people, all the money coming in for entertainment products like this, and then some of that money has gone away, and these companies are shifting, based on expecting things to happen forever, and that's not how the world works. So you get caught up in that, in the hype of it, and I think that's a natural thing to do. But with these companies, it's big time money, and it's affecting actual people on the ground here. So that's the main thing that is sad about this. So I think this is poor planning by these companies. Is what I always say. If you were trying to catch a trend, I think if you're trying to go trend catching, I think this is going to be even more present of miscalculating on your studios and where you're leveraging your money and things like that. But so I think they did a little bit of that in here. I think a lot of these video game companies have been getting caught doing the trend chasing, and it's coming back to bite them in the ass a bit. Like everyone trying to chase the live service games and try to make the next Fortnite or next Overwatch. I think some of that's coming to bite these companies back in the ass, and they're having to recalibrate, and unfortunately these people are being affected. So Microsoft, Xbox layoffs, some of the other specifics that are kind of out there, take all this with a grain of salt. With this one, I think it's true. Rare's upcoming game, Everwild, has been canceled. They were touting this as a magical new IP in development at Rare. There have been job cuts at King, so that's the Candy Crush developer. 10% of staff, or about 200 jobs. You would kind of think that Candy Crush was printing money. Still to this day would be my outside take on it, but who knows. The Call of Duty Raven Software, Sledgehammer Games, has some layoffs. The one that really grinds my gears and even makes me a little bit emotional as a video game fan is Turn 10 Studios was hit with layoffs. 50% of their staff. American video game developer based in Redmond, Washington, established in 2001 under Microsoft Game Studios, now known as Xbox Game Studios. So Turn 10 is the side of the house for Forza that's making the Forza Motorsport games. If you listen to the first part of this podcast, I've been playing Forza Motorsport 3, loving the hell out of it, and I am a huge fan of the Forza games in general. I talked in the first section how I hold Forza Motorsport in as high I hold it in as high of esteem as the Horizon part of the house, Horizon series, and I think it's an exceptional franchise. And Turn 10 Studios has developed Forza Motorsport 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And then the most recent Forza Motorsport, the renamed one that came out in 2023, that's a phenomenal video game as well. So this is one of those cases where, what else can they do here as the people on the staff? I don't think anything. I think maybe this could just be a sign of the times of the games that people are wanting to consume. So I think that could be the reality here, a little bit of this. But, thinking back on, I sold my Series X earlier in the year. I'm back on the 360. And I think Forza has been the only game holding down Xbox for the last, since the 360. And to see a reduction in the staff there, I think is a slap in the face. I think a lot of this stuff is a slap in the face, but this one just hits especially close to me because I'm a huge fan of this. And it's ridiculous. So I kind of see this is probably an early thought, but I see this a little bit of these layoffs as a little bit of a white flag from Xbox on what they're doing going forward. I think we're going to see them kind of not fade into the background, but dip more into the background, become more of just a third-party publisher, maybe partnering with other companies to make handhelds like they're already doing, things like that, maybe doing a lot more partnering, maybe than just being a strict, hey, we're going to make a video game box and we're going to develop video games for that box that we're going to sell to you. I think that may be a thing of the past. I think it may be a long thing of the past over here at Xbox. And I think this last grand push they had of buying all these studios was maybe the last hurrah, maybe the last bit of a little public front, or hey, look, we're trying. And I think this is kind of the axe to the other side of it. So I would just kind of say that those are kind of my thoughts. Even as a Xbox fan, I am an Xbox fan, and I'm probably will always be one, but I don't know if I'm going to be one going forward for their current products being released. It doesn't seem like it, and it seems like they might not even be looking for me to be a fan of their stuff going forward. So might be a little bit of a mutual parting here with Xbox. But I don't know. That's just my take on this. This is a drastic layoff, and it's been a layoff to a lot of things that were kind of like hopeful things to the people on the Xbox side of the world. So I think that's why this is a bigger blow than it even appears to be on paper. So Turn 10 Studios hit with a layoff 50% of staff. They're saying basically we can't make these Forza Motorsport games anymore. We're going to be just focusing on Horizon, and I think that's a huge bummer. So it kind of makes me want to try out some Gran Turismo. I've never really played that game, but I should probably try it out. I want to keep playing racers. I'm really into them. I want to kind of go back into them. I think these games hold up extremely well. One thing I learned about I meant to mention in the first section, if you want to play the Forza games that are on Xbox One, most of them have been delisted, so you can't digitally play them. You're not able to go digitally purchase them even on the Xbox Series X, on the Xbox One. So you have to have these actual physical games if you want to go play these Forza games. And there could be a future where I just pick up an Xbox One or a Series X again, just to kind of have these physical copies of Forza to be able to play if I want to. So might just have to hold on to these things of the past, and I think that's kind of sad. But if they're going to release the Horizon games going forward, that will keep me happy for sure, because those games are 10 out of 10 video games. I've considered purchasing Forza Horizon 5 to replay on the PlayStation 5 just to have the best of what they can offer. I really do like that Forza Motorsport 2023 game. I wish they would release that on PlayStation 5 as someone who doesn't have a Series X anymore and maybe doesn't want to have to purchase one again. But Turn 10 Studios, I am sorry to hear about your layoffs. I think it's a really tough spot to be in, and I really just think that one is a completely out of your control thing. Everyone likes to bring up the Metacritic scores for those games. Those games are extremely high quality. They have been a showpiece for the consoles. A lot of generations over the years for Xbox, it's, hey, how's Forza looking on that thing? Where's Forza at now? Is this the bridge Forza? Is this the brand new Forza on the console? So I think this is, I think some of this stuff is killing a little bit of the magic, I would say, over there with Xbox. And I think with video games, I think you want to have a little bit of the magic, because it's ultimately a fun thing that people do. It's an entertainment hobby, and it's an escape. It's a a way to spend your time. I would say it's overall pretty good, unless you do it too much, just kind of like anything. But it's a creative form of entertainment, and I think it's a really great thing, and that's why I enjoy talking about it every week here on this show. So bad on you, Microsoft. Bad on you, Xbox. These layoffs are some horse shit, as always. Sad to see them. I know you're restructuring. I know you're realigning. I know you're trying to focus on strategic growth for the future. I know you're going to be excited to release all the new organizational charts. That's going to take up a lot of your brain power and company for the time being. All this stuff has a lot that goes into it. It's not just you flip a switch and these things happen. There's going to be a lot of all the brass and people working at Microsoft and Xbox using their brains to figure their way through this, figure out how to proceed forward, and it might not result in the best things on the other side. So I wish them all the best as a fan of a lot of their products, but I don't know. I'm not seeing the vision here, and that is kind of my take on the Microsoft Xbox layoff. So what else has happened? So Turn 10 Studios, I'm very sorry, especially to you. The ZeniMax online game has been canceled. These are the Elder Scrolls Online devs. They were reportedly making a new MMORPG that's been canceled. Perfect Dark has been canceled. Something they were trying to revitalize. Something they showed off last year, like a really impressive trailer, and I think it's coming out that the trailer wasn't even showing off anything in engine, so a little bit disingenuous there with this game getting canceled maybe 6 months or a year later. So that's just kind of disrespectful to fans and people involved in the creation of the game. And it's just, phoniness. Phoniness. People need to, people appreciate you being straight up, and some of this stuff here it's just kind of laughable and silly. So I don't know if that's true about that trailer not really being shown in engine. They were really just putting a carrot on the end of a string there for some video gamers, and really just a Hail Mary of an attempt, if that's what they're trying to do. I mean, come on. You could really reallocate your resources, and maybe that's what they determine that's what they're doing here. But if that's what's going on, I guess you do need to reallocate your resources. And that is a complete switch. But that's one particular case of just being, what the hell is going on there with that Perfect Dark game that's canceled. And that'll probably be the last time we hear of Perfect Dark, besides people picking up an old version of it. So, sunsetting Perfect Dark over there. Oh, so craziness. All right, so some reports say up to 9,000, possibly 15,000, and that's all the big heavy headlines from the Microsoft Xbox layoffs that I picked up on. And I don't know. I don't know what to think about it. I think, T's and P's to anyone affected by this is the main thing here. I think it's interesting to follow as someone who follows video games closely in these companies and follows video game news. I think it's something interesting just to note trend-wise over the video game industry. I don't think it's interesting anybody losing their job, but I think this is going to continue happening. I think these companies have put a lot of eggs in one basket. They're going to have to, I guess, parse down and try to refocus on doing a few things well than trying to do everything well. I think that's probably kind of good advice for just the world in general. If you overextend yourself up to a certain point, it's not going to be sustainable. And I think that's what a lot of these companies, I think that's the kind of the whole gist of this. So, I think realigning or taking a step back in general is a good thing to do from time to time. But when it affects so many people, when you have so many errors at once, I think that's where the trouble comes in. That's where the critique and criticism can come from. And that's kind of where I'm coming from this as well. So I do talk about a little bit flippantly, like, hey, what were they doing with Perfect Dark? Maybe they were having too high of expectations there. But I think from an overall company standpoint, there might be a little bit too many big swing and misses here going on. That maybe points to some, so at least, poor management, poor planning, something. Someone up there should probably take the blame more so than these people on the ground trying to make these video games for people of the world. That's my take on it. So T's and P's to anyone affected by the Microsoft Xbox layoffs or anyone being laid off out there in the world. Other companies are doing this as well. So if anyone else is listening outside of that's particularly affected by a layoff, shout out to you, and I hope something good happens for you. And that's now and later. If you're listening to this now, I hope that for you. And if you're listening to this podcast in the far-flung future and you're going through a similar situation, I hope things get better for you too. All right. So let's get past the layoff conversation. Well, there's one more. Well, one more kind of like a sunsetting. So Anthem is a video game. It was a game created in 2019. It was the little bit of a switch up from BioWare. We were kind of knowing them for the Mass Effect and Dragon Age, and then they switch over to try to do, chase a little bit of a trend. But I think a 6-year run is pretty good. I think they had a couple years of some success, and then I think it kind of probably fell off a cliff, and that's Anthem. So EA is shutting down BioWare's Anthem on January 12th, 2026. The game will be unplayable after that date as the game is online only. I don't think there's any offline component to that game. This game launched in 2019. EA is stating no layoffs occurred at the company as a result of Anthem's sunset. So I guess they have reallocated those resources to other projects, and I think that is very good for those people involved. So I think maybe I tried Anthem once or twice. I think it looked pretty cool, but I think right around that time of 2019, I kind of quit playing multiplayer games as much as I used to, and I don't know if I'm the target audience there. I don't know how many of these games the target audience for these games can play. So I think that's kind of the problem they're running in here too. They're trying to get to the same group of people as Fortnite and Overwatch and other really popular online games, and there's only so much time in the day, so you can't ultimately pull these people away. They're not going to be able to play all these games all the time. So that is why these tough decisions have to get made. So Anthem is shutting down on January of next year, so you have a half year left to play some Anthem. Okay, what else is going on? I got a couple more things for you. HellDivers 2 is a video game, and that's actually coming to Xbox on August 26th. So there's some positive news for Xbox. This has been a game that's been out on PlayStation 5 and the PC. This came out of February in 2024. And this is coming to Xbox on August 26th. They say, we know gamers have been asking for this for some time, and we are excited to bring more HellDivers into our game. We have so much more in store for the future months and years, and the more players we have, the more stories we can tell. The fight for Super Earth has only just begun. So Fight for Freedom. This is the back of the box talk on HellDivers 2 if you've never heard of this game. Fight for freedom across a hostile galaxy in this frenetic third-person cooperative team shooter. Step into the boots of the HellDivers, an elite class of soldiers whose mission is to spread peace, liberty, and manage democracy using the biggest, baddest, and most explosive tools in the galaxy. So this game will run you $39.99 US. I believe that's the price across all platforms. And this game is coming on August 26th. So this is something that I've been tempted to try because I've heard such good things about it and been interested. And I think they've done an extremely good job with this, but I just have not been tempted enough to get into it. But I think if you are interested in multiplayer shooters, I think if you have someone else wanting to play this with you, I think this would be a great game to go try and something that I could recommend to someone who hasn't even played it. So if those criteria fit your scenario out there. I think HellDivers 2 can be fun for you. I think it's cool. It's coming to Xbox. I don't know if there's cross-play across the different platforms, but I do like when I enjoy these games coming to other platforms. I do like having exclusives, but I think if I had to have the option of it coming to another platform as well, I wouldn't turn it down. So, just thinking about that through right now. So I think exclusives are a good reason to buy a console. But I think now having a little bit of patience, you can possibly see the game come to another console. So I think that's a nice option out here as a consumer. All right, so HellDivers 2, August 26th. Just one thing to note that's interesting coming to Xbox. This is also releasing at the same day as Gears of War Reloaded is coming to PlayStation 5, and that game's $39.99 as well. Going to be interesting to see Gears of War on a PlayStation platform, and Gears of War, one of my favorite games of all time, one of my favorite franchises of all time. I don't think it's something I immediately need to revisit, but I think it's cool. I think it's strange it's coming to Xbox. I mean, PlayStation would be my general take on it, but I think it's kind of cool. It's definitely weird to see the cover art with the PlayStation logo, PlayStation 5 up there on the top, but if someone who has never owned an Xbox wants to play Gears of War on their PlayStation, I think that's pretty cool, and I have a little bit of interest in that as well. And I like that it's priced $39.99. I think that's a good price for a video game. All right, Naughty Dog is one of my favorite video game developers of all time. They are the developer located in Santa Monica, California, and the studio head over there, Neil Druckmann, is basically going to, I thought originally he was going to quit working on The Last of Us in general, but he's saying he's quitting working on The Last of Us, the TV show for HBO. So just a quick one here. Studio head Neil Druckmann has said, "I've made the difficult decision to step away from my creative involvement in The Last of Us on HBO. With work completed on Season 2 and before any meaningful work starts on Season 3, now is the right time for me to transition my complete focus to Naughty Dog and its future projects, including writing and directing our exciting next game, Intergalactic: The Heretic Prophet, along with my responsibilities as studio head and head of creative." So this one does seem like a pretty natural breaking point. I think the TV series is somewhere in the second in Last of Us Part 2. I don't think they really introduced a ton of Abby yet. So I think Season 2 has probably already been planned. He's probably already given all the notes he can. And then the show's going to continue after that. Maybe they're going in a Game of Thrones style fashion, where they're just kind of going off canon or creating their own new canon or own new storyline or whatever. But I think Neil Druckmann spending more time on the video game front would be where I would want him to be. As someone who's not really a fan of, I don't watch too many TV shows these days. I think I do have some interest in watching The Last of Us, but it being my favorite video game of all time, Last of Us 2, I don't know. Even that doesn't get me to want to watch this. I think it's just going to be, I think I would just have complaints with it. And I have the video game, and I can go back and replay that. And I think it's, I don't know. I don't know why I've never been tempted. I think it's just a little bit partially I really haven't watched a TV show in a long time. I mainly just kind of watch sports and YouTube and play video games for kind of entertainment like that. But I think it's cool that he's going to be focusing more on the video game side of the house. Doesn't have to worry about adapting this franchise to TV, and I think that's cool. So Neil Druckmann no longer working on the HBO show at this point. So back to Naughty Dog, back to creating some great games. Okay, so that was the Naughty Dog update. There is a Pokemon Presents coming up on July 22nd, so a couple weeks away, July 22nd, 2025. The latest updates and news from the world of Pokemon will stream on the official Pokemon YouTube channel starting at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. The Pokemon Company hasn't said how long the event will be, but I'm sure they're going to talk about some Pokemon Legends E3A, which is coming out October 16th, 2025. So I just want to mention that they announced this Pokemon Presents is coming out in a couple weeks, and I will definitely be talking it on the following week on the Dep Lewis Show, whichever one that will be. All right, the last thing I'm going to mention, well, two more things to mention here for the midsection of the show this week. Donkey Kong Bonanza is an upcoming video game, my most anticipated video game for the year. And the bit of news that's come out, it's confirmed to be the Mario Odyssey team that's creating this video game. So I think that is as good of news that is possible for the creation of Donkey Kong Bonanza, especially as someone who has jumped back into Super Mario Odyssey this last week. That game is elite S+ tier, top tier classic video game. And if they are going to put that same care and passion and skill and knowledge and smarts into Donkey Kong Bonanza, I am all on board, and I'm prepared for this to be the best video game of the year and one of my favorite video games ever. So, you don't want to, I think sometimes it's good to have low expectations, but sometimes I think these games warrant the high expectations. I think this is one. I think this is going to be huge. I think it's going to get a lot of people really clamoring to have a Switch 2 out there in the world, even though it's possible they've sold. We're going to talk about that in a second, but this is going to be a big deal. If this game reviews critically well, I think it's going to be an extremely huge deal, and I'm excited for it. So if you can't tell, I'm excited for Donkey Kong Bonanza. It's coming out on Nintendo Switch 2, only on Nintendo Switch 2, July 17, 2025, $69.99 US. Confirmed to be the Mario Odyssey development team, confirmed by Nintendo ahead of a recent Donkey Kong Bonanza hands-on preview. Odyssey, released for Switch October 2017, was helmed by Super Mario 3D World director Kenta Motokura. So none of these people have been confirmed to be exactly working on Donkey Kong Bonanza, but they were with the studio back for Odyssey. So just mentioning their names just to give them some credit, they probably are working on this game would be my guess. And produced by Super Mario Galaxy director Yoshiaka Koizumi and Super Mario Galaxy 2 director Koichi Hayashida. So in Donkey Kong Bonanza, the back of the box talk, if you haven't heard yet, is the big guy's back and he's not alone. Explore a vast underground world with Donkey Kong and Pauline by smashing your way through it. So with DK's brute force and Pauline's special singing abilities, you can crash through walls, carve tunnels with your fist, punch straight down into the ground, and even tear off chunks of terrain to swing around and throw in groundbreaking exploration. The more you smash, the more areas open to explore. So I've been having fun playing Pauline in Mario Kart World. I'm excited to get to know her more as a character. She is a character in Super Mario Odyssey as well, so it's going to be, the second half of the year is going to be the half year of Pauline over here for me, I guess. And Donkey Kong as well. So Donkey Kong Bonanza, just a extreme update. It's coming out on July 17th, so it's getting very, very close, and it's confirmed to be made by the Odyssey team. So the last bit of information I want to talk about on the midsection this week is the Nintendo Switch 2 in general. There have been reports out there. I don't know if these ones are official. I don't think they are. But the Nintendo Switch 2 has already sold over 5 million units. And it's saying it's unclear if these are accurate. And my take on this is I think that number could even be low. So I think it was officially reported that Nintendo sold 3.5 million units in 4 days. So for them to sell 26 days, I don't think it's going to be multiplying exactly like those 4 days, but for them to sell 5 million over the course of 26 days, I don't think that's too far-fetched. So that would be kind of my take on this. I'm excited to hear about the numbers. I know 3.5 million, it was the giant push at the beginning that they were trying to meet the demand of. So I don't think they've doubled that. I don't think they've doubled that by this point yet, because I haven't really seen too many restocks of the console. But for it to be 5 million, I don't think that is hyperbole. I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility. And I think it's probably an accurate number, would be my guess. So I just want to point out that this console is selling like crazy. Everyone's complaining about it is Mario Kart World is the only new game, but it's not stopping people from buying this console. It's not stopping Donkey Kong Bonanza coming out in a couple weeks. And we're going to be running into the holiday season before you know it. And I think the Switch 2 is hitting the ground running extremely well. I think it's taken off. I think it's hit another stratosphere. And this thing has just started. So I think that's the thing to note here. This thing has just started. There's going to be other versions of this console that's going to come out. There's going to be variants. There's going to be possibly an OLED version. There's a long, long life ready to be had for the Switch 2. So I don't think I think the FOMO is going to be really ramped up with Donkey Kong Bonanza coming out, because you're going to have Mario Kart World and Bonanza out there trying to sell people on this. But I think this thing is rolling. I think people really want to get one, and I would say you should get one. If you are a Switch 1 fan and you plan on being in the Nintendo world or side of things for the foreseeable future, I think you want to get your hands on one of these. And I've had a fabulous time with my Switch 2 is the main thing I want to report, and they've been selling a lot of consoles. All right. So that's everything I have for you in the midsection this week. That's all the video game news, releases, information, speculation, rumors, details that I have for you. So we talked about a lot of things. We talked about all the layoffs at Microsoft and Xbox. Once again, T's and P's to all those people involved. We talked about Anthem. We talked about HellDivers 2. We talked about Naughty Dog. We talked about Pokemon Presents, Donkey Kong Bonanza, and Nintendo Switch 2 in general. So those are all the video game thoughts I have for you for this week. We still have one final section of the show coming up, and that is going to be the Miscellaneous Talk section. So you're going to hear one more musical break, and then we're going to come back for the Miscellaneous Talk section, where I tell you what is going on around the wide world of sports that I find interesting and keep you up to date with my fandom, and you don't want to miss it. Probably be kind of short and sweet, so listen to this music and come right back for the final section of Dep Lewis Show, episode 136, after this. Welcome back to the final section, the Miscellaneous Talk section of Dep Lewis Show, episode 136, where I can talk about anything I want to outside of the video game world. So, as always, I want to get into the worldwide world of sports and tell you what is going on with all my favorite teams. So, starting off with the NFL, the Carolina Panthers. It's the offseason over there. Just a couple dates to keep in your memory if you're a Panthers fan, or even a football fan in general. But the preseason for the Panthers begins on August 8th, 2025, and the regular season for the Panthers begins on Sunday, September 7th, 2025 at Jacksonville. So just 2 months away there from some actual NFL games being played. So pretty excited for that. I got some pretty good hype going overall for the offseason for the Panthers and looking forward to next year. And what has gone on in the NBA? Since I last talked to you, the Thunder have won the NBA Finals. I feel like maybe that's happened. I feel like maybe that's an old note, but it's the offseason right now for the Charlotte Hornets. I'm a halfway fan of them as a North Carolina resident, a recent North Carolina resident. And the Hornets in the last week, though, have acquired Colin Sexton and a 2030 second-round pick from Utah in exchange for center Yusuf Nurkic. So I think that's a pretty cool pickup. I'm a fan of Colin Sexton and think he could be a dynamic guy to add into the rotation. And they've also traded away Mark Williams, who they've been trying to get rid of now for 2 years, which is sad. But they traded him to Phoenix for a first-round pick in 2029 and guard Basa Micic. So that's the moves the Hornets made over the past week when all the free agency stuff went down. And the Atlanta Hawks, my favorite team, have made a couple moves as well. So they have signed via sign-and-trade Nickeil Alexander-Walker from the Timberwolves. So they have signed and trade for 4 years and $62 million. So handing him a nice bag of money. And the Hawks are sending a 2027 second-round pick via Cleveland and cash to Minnesota. So I think Alexander Walker is going to come through and shoot some threes and play some D and be a great addition to the Hawks rotation. Another one as well, we got a sharpshooter on the Hawks. We got Luke Kennard on a 1-year, $11 million deal with free agent sharpshooter. The 29-year-old has led the NBA in three-point percentage twice, and I think would be a perfect addition to a team where we could use some shooting. And I think the Hawks could still use one more guy to go get a bucket, and potentially it could be added. I think they have a little bit of room, and I'd be interested to see them get one more guy who could come in and spell Trey, or come in and be a bucket just as much as Trey. I heard Club 520, the Jeff Teague podcast, talking about that, and I think I really agree with it. I think Trey Young is really the only true bucket getter on the squad. There's other guys that can score and be dynamic playmakers, but I think as far as just someone being an ISO guy, bringing the ball up, going to get a bucket, making a shot, I think they could really use another guy. They were saying, Teague was saying he would love to have DeMar DeRozan being the sixth man on the Hawks. I mean, hell yeah, but having some other dynamic scorer on the squad could be a good thing, and I hope that's something that the Hawks are targeting at this point, because I think all the other points of the roster are pretty much in a good position from what I would say, and I think the hype out there from other people, even outside of Hawks fans, is they're putting a lot of respect on the Hawks offseason and roster right now, so I think some of that stuff could potentially be a little bit of fool's gold just as being a long-standing Hawks fan, but I do like the moves they're making here, and I'll be definitely hopeful going into next season that they're going to be able to be competitive in the East. I don't know if I want to say they're going to be competitive to get to the East, to come out of the East, but maybe get to the finals, maybe make some noise in the playoffs would be my really only hope or expectation over there for the Birds, for the Atlanta Hawks. All right, but my favorite team in the universe, the Atlanta Braves, who are actually playing right now. So they have an early game today. I think it started, I was mentioning earlier, I don't know if it started at 11 a.m. or 11:30. It's 11:34 a.m. right now, recording this podcast in real time. So after this, I'm going to put the podcast out and then put the Braves on. And hopefully they can get a win today against the Orioles. In this early game, I think it's only on Roku. But it just so happens I randomly bought a Roku yesterday. So if that's going to help me watch the Braves game today early, that's going to be a pretty nice coincidence and pretty unusual. But the Roku is pretty cool because you can get the FanDuel Sports Network app on there. You can get the MLB TV app on there and YouTube all on one. So that's kind of hard to do. I think unless you have an Xbox, that's a good platform for doing that. But the Roku is a nice device just to plug in. And the only thing it's lacking, in my opinion, would be Twitch. There's no Twitch app on there. That's really the only other app I use. But I'm going to be able to use it for all the baseball and all the NBA and things like that. So pretty excited to have the Roku, and I think I can use it to watch the Braves today. So what has happened since last week with the Braves? Last Sunday, they played the Phillies. The Braves lost 1-2. Monday, they had an off day. And then Tuesday versus the Angels, the Braves lost 0-4. Wednesday versus the Angels, the Braves won 8-3. Thursday versus the Angels, the Braves lost 1-5. Friday versus the Orioles, the Braves lost 2-3. Saturday versus the Orioles, the Braves lost 6-9 in extra innings. So a pretty bad week, or it was a bad week for the Braves, and a disheartening week for the Braves, who need to get some momentum. I think when I look today, there's maybe less than 10 games before the All-Star break, and we have a couple players playing well, but I don't know what's up with this team right now. I really don't. So they are playing the Orioles today at 11:30 a.m. or right now in real time if you're listening to this. And then next week, Braves are off on Monday. They are at the A's for 3 and then at St. Louis for 3. So a lot of winnable games in there. They really need to put the pedal to the metal, all those kind of things like I was saying last week, and they haven't really done it yet. But I think Matt Olson's been playing extremely good recently. It's been one thing, and having Ronald back is always nice, but I think the Braves really need to get it together as a whole, and that's the plan. So go Braves. Going to wrap up this final section so I can go watch the game, and I'll be back next week in this section talking sports as always. So just thank you for listening to this final section. That's all the sports talk I have for you today. We talked about the Carolina Panthers, the Charlotte Hornets, the Atlanta Hawks, and the Atlanta Braves. So that's going to wrap up the miscellaneous talk section, and also wrap up the entire Dep Lewis Show, episode 136. So I want to reiterate some promotional talk from the beginning. Please follow Dep Lewis Show everywhere. Full episodes of Dep Lewis Show available anywhere you can find a podcast. So find the best place to subscribe and listen weekly, maybe even tell a friend. Places like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, YouTube, Amazon Music, and more. YouTube is also a great place to watch me play some games live or check the videos later. If you'd like to support the show even further than just listening, patreon.com/Dep Lewis Show is available if you'd like to subscribe monthly. Also, Venmo at Dep Lewis Show is available any day, anytime, for any amount if you would like to support the show. So thank you so much for listening. I hope you have a wonderful week out there in the world. I will be back next week for another episode of Dep Lewis Show, as always, on Sunday, talking about video games. Please follow me on youtube.com/Dep Lewis Show. You might be able to catch a live stream during the week if I do one, or if you want to go back and watch some gameplay and listen to me talk and see my reactions, things like that, please go check out my YouTube. I think that's one of the best places to follow me right now, and a good place to sporadically get some content from me, but you can always expect the Dep Lewis Show once a week on Sunday, unless I have something going on in particular, but that's the plan, giving you all the video game news you need to know each week, and that is what I will do. So have a great week out there, and I'll talk to you next time. I'll see you for another episode of Dep Lewis Show. Goodbye.